Welcome to the Gus Alva Perspective, a video cast that's earmarked to embrace gratitude and abundance as opposed to fear and scarcity. I can tell you this morning, California, we don't oftentimes get a lot of rain. And today happened to be one of those rainy days. And as I was heading off to go swim, I was going to be doing a 2-mile swim. It all of a sudden started raining. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm already wet, so it doesn't really matter if I get further wet. And it brought to mind the fact that, I felt grateful for the fact that in a state in which we oftentimes face drought, we've had a plethora of rain as of recently. And I'll tell you what, I'll embrace that any day. The important thing, though, is that today's video cast is earmarked to take a look at what our morning routine might look like. And I must state, I get an opportunity of being able to help out students from different faculties. And one of my students from the University of Chapman, her name's Lauren, she happens to be rotating with me right now, asked me, hey, if you're going to be doing your video cast, why don't you do it on a morning routine? And I just thought, that's so clever because you're absolutely right. You can either jumpstart your day on a positive note or on a negative note. And so obviously, since it was her idea, I asked her, hey, what do you normally do? And she said, well, you know what? I'm sort of a creature of habit. If I'm not necessarily feeling overly motivated, I'll do a class pass, because obviously now she's looking at sort of the negative consequences of not being responsible for going to her class. A class pass is, as she described, the opportunity of going to, one of many different gyms. But she gets docked if she doesn't show up from her tokens that she's bought. So obviously she wants to make sure that she shows up. And very clever, because she was mentioning that that would be what her routine would be like if she wasn't necessarily feeling motivated. If motivated, maybe doing Peloton, since it's already there, would actually be her jam. And then subsequently, because of the point in her life right now, and that is that she's got very little time to be able to actually get things done. And subsequently, she'd get going and actually show up to a clinic or a hospital, et cetera, and so on. And I thought that was very genuine of her. But it also made me reflect on what my routine is, and the fact that every single day, I feel this sense of unbridled joy and gratitude. I oftentimes will look up to the heavens and say, thank you so much for the opportunity of being here. There is an interesting thing about being able to be up early in the morning in the outdoors. You get these amazing colors that go over the sky that you wouldn't otherwise be able to observe. And it is something beyond the scope of words. It's something that needs to be experienced and felt. So, my routine typically is waking up early, 5 in the morning, and being inside of the water at the pool. I'll try to swim year round, because swimming is a wonderful activity. It's unfortunately an activity that I didn't necessarily embrace until later on in life. But for those of you that have not done it, you need to start. For those of you that have done it, you need to get back at it, because there's no way you're going to be injuring yourself in the water. And if you've got a heated pool, that's not a bad way to go, right? Because you'll maybe jump into the water's going to be cold, but that automatically wakes you up without the need for caffeine or tea or anything else. And then subsequently, maybe 300 yards in, by that point, you're already warmed up and you're good to go. And now you can swim whatever distance it is that you want to do. But what a phenomenal opportunity of getting your heart rate up and being able to practice breathing and to be locked into your thoughts. It's really interesting because, prior to swimming, I used to run. Running, unfortunately, will beat you up. It will tear up your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, and so on. So unfortunately, it is not the kindest of activities to do, but it is effective in keeping you healthy because you're doing great aerobic exercise and you're also, again, working out those legs quite well. Cycling, not a bad thing, but going to the gym is what most people do. And it's not a bad thing, right? Because truth be told, once you're finished, man, the rest of your day is now going to take off in such a manner where you're fully awake, you're fully alert, and you feel like you've done a service for yourself. So let me take a step back with that one. You know, having a very busy practice, it's oftentimes difficult to find the time for oneself. So the routines that we set up for ourselves should be set in such a way so that it's a guilty pleasure, it's a guilty, selfish pleasure that we should evoke out of that, right? Some people like to get out of bed, maybe go grab a hot drink, whatever it be, whether it be coffee, tea, whatever, and maybe read the newspaper in a leisure manner, maybe turn on the TV, maybe do whatever. Maybe take a look at emails, maybe do whatever, right? But it's a very passive approach. My routine's a bit different. Like I said, my usual start of the day is very early on. Part of the reason being is that I need to, like my student, be mindful of time. For me, my most precious commodity is time. And because I have a very busy professional life, sheltering the time that I spend with my family is very important. So for me, going out to a gym would mean that maybe I'm driving a half hour out to a gym, I'm working out for an hour, and then I'm driving back for another half hour, and that's 2 hours now where I can actually do the same things by being in my own neighborhood and simply jumping into the pool and knocking out a couple of miles in 1 hour. And now being able to get back, maybe sip on some coffee, but spend now some good quality time making breakfast for my kids. Being able to actually have that discussion about what the day is bringing forth. What are the girls excited about? What's happening with them? And then be able to have that exchange, maybe teach them how to cook for themselves. Because, by the way, that's a topic that's really important. I oftentimes will joke around with my kids that, when I was quite young, my grandmother taught me to make things for myself. So, why should I not afford them the same opportunity that I had? And it's a nice time also to be able to, just speak with my wife and then be able to talk about what the entire family is going to be doing through the day. Then subsequently, being able to clean up a little bit and then subsequently, get over and take a shower and get ready and, spiff up so as to now be able to tackle the day. But in that process, it's really an interesting thing because, my student was actually commenting on the fact, well, I'll work out and then I'll take a shower. And I'm like thinking, I certainly hope so, right? You don't want to be going stinky to the place where you're going to be going to. But, it's a really important thing, just making sure that you're taking the time out for appropriate hygiene, for appropriate issues that are important. The way that you present yourself to others is really critical. If you're fastidious about your dress, and that's going to be important. You might actually have to take a couple of minutes to think about what you're going to wear. Maybe you don't have that ability, maybe you do, but the important thing is being intentional. And that intention can actually be very helpful because it gears you for the rest of what the day is going to look like. So the whole scope of a morning routine, although it sounds mundane, is so critical. A morning routine can actually set you up for success or failure. And who wants to fail, right? And so the important thing is that if your mindset is, oh my gosh, I got this out of the way with, and that's wonderful, that's important. Let me give you an example of that. My selfish pleasure or my selfish, issue associated with working out early in the morning is that I'm not getting any younger, and I know that I have to stay healthy. I know that I want to keep a good cardiac system going because unfortunately I've got a family heritability of heart disease. And the best way of being able to counter that is by exercising. So based on the fact that my wife is actually really helpful with me because she kind of forces me to go to bed at a reasonable time. Left to my own devices, I'm my own worst enemy. I'll stay up late and I'll be goofing around with with whatever. But if basically I'm going to bed at a preset time, at a reasonable time, that's going to shelter at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep for me, that means I'm going to be feeling super great the following day. And if I commence the day with that guilty pleasure of knowing that I'm actually serving myself the best medicine for myself, which is exercise and being active, then that ultimately is going to be something that's helping me live a longer, healthier life. And so, see, the interesting thing here is that you make the decisions about this. You are intentional about things, and you can either make the right choices or the wrong ones, but they're all very different, right? Because none of us are exactly the same. Some people require less sleep. Some people require more sleep. Some people don't necessarily like doing a particular activity. Some others do. But whatever it is that you do, if you now create this uniformity of continuity where you're sticking with a plan, that will actually help along the lines of settling you in and now getting that day going. The importance of this routine, for example, in my case, is particularly useful because I get a wonderful opportunity of being able to interact with all the people that I care for deeply, and then all of a sudden have this opportunity of kind of setting the scope of what's coming throughout the rest of the day, so that now, as I hit that launch pad, I'm ready to go. And it becomes an important point. So, Lauren, to you, thank you very much for the thought of, something that sounds so mundane and simple, but is so critical and important. I hope for you all that you set that morning routine in such a manner so that you embrace things as they come to you with a mindset of gratitude and abundance. And let me share with you one last thing. I had the opportunity of being able to start running with my 11-year-old daughter. And the neat thing was, as I was coming back home from swimming, while she had a little bit of time off from school, I said, "Hey, what do you think about maybe taking a run around the neighborhood?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." And just taking a look at the different colors in the sky, and the fact that she was observing something that most people miss out on. While you're asleep, you can't really catch what's happening in the dawn. But when you see the changes in the colors as the sun's popping through the clouds, it's an amazing experience. And she said, "Dad, this is so incredible." And I was looking at her and I said, "Yeah, you and I get an opportunity of embracing this and cherishing this and really enjoying this. Whereas those individuals who are still asleep don't get a chance to do this, don't get a chance to enjoy this." And I could tell that filled her in a mighty manner as it did me. And so I share with you that mindset of gratitude will carry you through great lengths. Thank you so much for spending time with us.